Here we are in Module 8. We'll be covering Chapter 9, which is on motivation, and then also stress and emotion. Now, some intro psych textbooks actually break these topics up into different chapters, but I kind of like it the way that it is here because it captures the essence of each of these topics by not going into too much detail, but really giving you a good glimpse of the importance here and really how they're all related to one another. Sometimes if they're broken up into separate chapters, you don't necessarily draw the connections between how stress can trigger our emotions or our emotions can trigger stress, and how that relates to our motivations, which drive our behavior. So it's all kind of interconnected. This is also a big area of health psychology. So if you're interested, if you're a psych major, I would highly recommend taking health psych if you like this chapter and you kind of like the content in it. We cover a lot of these topics when we go over health psych. So let's just preview a little bit here. Some different things happening in this module that I want you to pay attention to. Specifically, we have an extra video this week in addition to the My Psych Lab videos. And then I'm also offering an extra credit opportunity. So we'll talk about that in just a second. Here are your objectives for the chapter. And again, it pretty much covers them in order. You're going to go over motivation first, specifically covering a lot on Maslow. Abraham Maslow was a humanist. He had the humanistic perspective of psychology. And so he had a lot to say about our levels of motivation, what determines that, specifically self-determination theory. So you're going to be covering that a little bit. Then you're going to go ahead and jump into stress. What is stress? What types of things stress us out? And how do we cope with stress? Kind of the umbrella categories for that. So some interesting stuff there. Looking a little bit at hunger and obesity and sexual behavior, all because these are drives and these are motivations that often underlie our behavior. So it's important to understand how these can affect us and manifest in our behavior ultimately. Okay, once you cover that, then the last part of the chapter covers emotion. So you're going to look at some theories that exist to explain how we experience emotions. You know, do our emotions drive our behavior, or does our behavior drive our emotions? That's kind of been a long-standing debate. You know, relatable to the chicken and the egg, which comes first. But you're going to learn a lot about what goes into it, like cognitive arousal, just how we process information in our social world, using faces. We talked a little bit about this already earlier in early chapters when we looked at infants and how the face is really important. And the face is one of the first things that infants focus on and attend to. So it makes sense here that we're going to talk about this facial feedback hypothesis in understanding where emotion comes from and what drives it. And so basically, once you've gone through all of that, you are ready then to take a look at the lecture slides. But I would really recommend that you read first, or even print out these slides and have them next to you as you read. I had just gotten an email recently from a student that was asking, what's the best way to use the PowerPoint slides, and I always recommend, if you can, print out even just the outline format of the slides, or do like 3 slides per page, where you can write notes on the margins and have those with you as you're going through your book, just because the visual representation of what the slides are covering help as you're going through the readings. So that would be my advice to you. Okay, I said the videos were a little bit different this week. You will be watching the My Psych Lab videos that are in episode 12, Motivation and Emotion, as well as episode 15, which is Psychology and Health, basically health psychology. In addition, you're also going to be watching this extra video. This is a great video. I love it. I show it in my in-class version of this course. And it's a little bit longer one. It's a 50-minute one, but it comes from pure research on the topic of stress and how it affects us. So very biological, but also very environmental. It covers all the key points that I want you to really understand and know. And I honestly think that this is one video that will stick with you, mainly because it's so essential for understanding how we work, how we go about life. We are human beings, but we've sort of become human doings in that we're constantly on the go. We're go, 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 do. We're busier than ever, and it's kind of hurting us. It's causing a lot of stress, and it's affecting us physiologically. It's manifesting in illness. So stress is directly related to our immune system, our endocrine system that secretes the hormones to combat stress. And all of that is inextricably linked to then, our personality, how we cope with stress, the strategies we use to combat stress. Sometimes, a lot of times, they're really negative strategies that we tend to use. But all's not lost. The video also talks about some very successful strategies for coping with stress and dealing with life stressors that come up, whether it be on the job stress or a life event that happens like death, divorce, anything like that, any big life change. So that extra video I want you to watch, and the best part is that it's linked to an extra credit opportunity. So we'll get to that in just a second. Your Module 8 discussion deals with Hawk number 22. I can see it all over your face. And this has to do, again, with sort of a little bit of that facial feedback hypothesis. Not exactly, but that would be a great thing to tie in here with your main chapter readings if you'd like. But it's really looking at nonverbal behavior. It's looking at the work of Ekman and Friesen, who are pioneers in the area of nonverbal behavior. A lot of what we demonstrate and how we communicate to other people is actually nonverbally. About 98% of it is. Crazy, right? It's really not what we say, it's how we say it, what we're doing when we say it, and how we look when we say it. There's so much that can be caught in the slight nuances of our nonverbal behavior. So the reading's gonna cover just nonverbal cues in general, and then segue into some interesting stuff looking at deception, lying. How good are people at it? Is there anything that we can glean off of facial expressions and body language that might help us to detect deception? This is much the stuff of, some of the current shows that are out right now. I feel like a lot of the police shows and crime shows and things like that are very interested in this because, any area where you're dealing with criminal behavior, you want to read people, and you want to hopefully read people well so you can anticipate what they're going to do or what they're thinking or what their next step might be. Maybe some of you watched the show Lie to Me. It was on a few years back now. I think it's on Netflix. It's a great show, all about actually the work of Ekman and Friesen. If you look at the credits during every one of those Lie to Me episodes, you'll see their names in the credits because the TV show actually drew from their research that they did on nonverbal behavior. So some interesting stuff. I love this reading. I think it's a great, obviously, seminal study in psychology, which is why it made it into the Hawk book. But that's the basis for your discussion for this module. So you have your quiz, and then you also have the exam. And the exam is on, if we go back up here, chapters 9, and then the previous module, which was Chapter 8, and that covered lifespan development. So those are the 2 chapters that are on the exam. And then here's your extra credit. Now, to do this extra credit, you're simply going to be clicking on this actual extra credit. Some of you may have to double click, and it opens you up into the assignment box where you can submit your assignment. What are you submitting? Well, you're submitting this worksheet. So you can choose to type it out if you want and submit it, or you can create a PDF of it and submit it. You can scan it and create a PDF. However you would like to do it, you just need to answer the questions that are on this video worksheet that go with the video. Due date is June 18th. That's a Monday. It's worth 5 points. I'm not going to accept late extra credit. Okay, so this is a bonus freebie. I'm giving you till next Monday to do it, and that's when it is due. And I think that, you know, it's really going to help you actually with the test. I mean, everything I have you do, I don't have you do for busy work, but I have you do it because it matters and it all kind of relates to each other. All right, so that is the module. Hopefully you also listened to module 7 that went along with this one for the week. But if you have any questions or need some clarification on anything, please don't hesitate to ask. Don't hesitate to email me. Okay, everyone, have a great week.